Hi there, James from Rallycorp. I just ended a webinar and I got asked a question about a short link. Now, sometimes I take it for granted when I say things like short link or URL shortener that people know what I'm talking about. So I actually built this slide after the webinar to just answer the question and kind of provide a beginning talking point so people are clear on what we're talking about. But if you go to your URL on your website and you click on the donate button, my question is this, like what shows up in the URL? Like what do you see? Now, if you want to share that with people through an email or a social post, like how do you get people to that? If you're at an event, let's say you met somebody at a conference, you say, hey, give to my website, give to my nonprofit. My website is, website.org. Click on the donate button or just browse to this page, right? So that's a long URL. Now, there are services like Bitly or Google link shortening service that allows you to shrink that down and make that a lot easier to use and a little bit easier to remember. So chances are you're going to be easier to remember Bitly/acme-donate. That's just a made up URL, but that's going to be easy for you to remember than that long URL at the top. Now, Rallycorp also provides the link shortening services, and I'm going to give it, kind of a 2 thumbs up because of some of the differences between the two services. Let me just share that with you real quick because I shared this on the webinar and it was new for people and they weren't aware of it. So let me just share it with you. Now, a service like Bitly has some pros and cons. First off, it's cheap, it's easy to use. It's not natural in text messages, so you just need to be aware of that. People don't usually send a Bitly from their phone, so while it's cheap and easy, there's a con that most people don't recognize it, or they might not be used to seeing it in a text message. So clearly, it can come from a computer if you're sending a Bitly. They're well known and recognizable. They have good data analytics on click events, so you can tell when people click on them. And of course, it reduces it takes a long, complicated URL. It makes it much shorter. Now, you can't change the URL once you create it using a service like Bitly, and that's a real bummer. So if you start sharing it and then your URL changes, you get a different donation form or a different donation platform. Any Bitlys that you've sent out there are always going to have that same URL. You're going to have to just go back and update all your social posts and any emails you sent, anything like that, where you've included that Bitly, okay? Unless you pay for Bitly, the analytics are usually deleted in like 30 days or so. So, different services keep them for different lengths of time. But unless you're paying for the service, you're not going to get analytics for long. Now, the biggest issue we have is, and because it's not natural in texting, networks like Verizon and AT&T monitor traffic on SMS to see if there is things that would indicate that it potentially could be a spammer or a robot sending text messages, which is a huge no-no if you're using a regular phone number to do a bunch of texting without properly registering. That's 10 DLC. I'll get to do a video on that some other time. But here's the thing. When we see customers use a Bitly in a text message campaign, depending on the size of the text message campaign and the content of those messages, we have seen those text messages flagged as spam and therefore not get delivered. So you might think you just sent a text message to 1,000 donors, but reality is only the first 10 or 15 got it before Verizon or AT&T said, nope, no more, and they shut it down. Now, it doesn't even have to be your message that was spammy. It could be that someone else is sending an illegitimate spammy text message for real spam, but they're using a service like Bitly, and Bitly got flagged in that message, so it's likely to get flagged in yours. This is a known and common issue, both with email and text messages. If you're using Bitly in text messages, you're likely to have some issues at any real scale or volume, or just even at smaller message batches based on the kind of message and whether people are being spammed from services like Bitly. So just something for you to be aware of. Now, one of the things we do at Rally, which is why I say it's 2 thumbs up, is we, of course, reduce the length of the URL. We use a branded URL. Every mobile number on Rally gets its own short link. So if you upload 1,000 donors, and we send a text message to 1,000 people and they click on that link, every single phone number has its own link click event. So we can track the analytics down to the actual donor who opened the message, not just this many people opened the message or this many people clicked on the link, but actually these 5 donors clicked the link versus these 5 people did not, right? So it gives us incredible insights to be able to get to that granularity. So not just, how many people click on it, but actually who clicked on it, which is incredibly insightful. One of the biggest benefits actually is you can change the URL on the Rally platform. So if you have a long URL and you shorten it with Bitly, that's it. You get one short and then that's it. With Rally, we can literally change that URL as often as you want. Now, we reset some of the analytics when you do that, but it is possible if you said, hey, James, we have a new donation page. We want to shorten this one now. Of course, we can do that. And everybody that had that first link, it's still going to work, even down to the phone number level. but we can direct them to a new donation page or something like that. Okay. Now, last but not least, we include a free QR code with all of our short links. So if you want a QR code, just let us know and we can send you the QR code. And then we're working on what's called a conversion tag, but that's in a completely different conversation for its own video. I'm not going to talk about that now unless you really want to know about it. Post in the comments below. I'll be glad to jump into a conversation just on the conversion tag and why that matters. But that's the benefits of a URL shortening service. Use a URL shortening service to make a long URL short. Consider Bitly as an option, but remember the pros and cons I talked about. And then, of course, consider Rally's service for the added benefits of a QR code, changing the URL link in, or the link behind the short code, and getting that granular level of analytics at the actual donor level. All right, I'm over time now. I hope that's helpful for you. James at Rallycorp.com. Feel free to stop by our website if you have any questions. I'm glad to walk you through these examples, and I'll be sure to dive into this more in our next webinar. All right, have a great day.